Hey guys, so I know a lot of us have expressed an interest in hearing a video like this. I've talked to my advisory about it a little bit, but wanted to show you what you can do if you happen to end up with a flat tire on your bike. For starters, this bike uses some nuts to hold it onto the frame, so you need a 15mm wrench to take that off, loosen that up, and then you can take your tire right off. Ideal scenario, you have one of these. It's called a tire lever. If you need to, you can use a screwdriver, but you have to be really careful with both your rim and also the tube on the inside of the tire. I use this to get in there and pop that tire off of the rim. So we go all the way around. Right here we have our tube, and I have it on good authority from the owner of this bike that this tube has a hole in it from a thorn. A thorn makes a really small hole, but it is definitely big enough to let all the air out, as we found out here. Best thing you can do is get like some soapy water. If you dip this in soapy water and then try and pump it up, you're gonna see some bubbles form wherever that hole is. But you can also just listen really close and see if you can find the hole. So I'm gonna put a little bit of air in here. So we can see it blowing up a little bit. Oh wow, this is really lucky. I can actually feel the air coming out. So right there is a very, very tiny hole, and that's where the air is coming from. If you hold it really close to your face, you can usually feel where the holes are. So I'll mark where that one is. I'll listen closely to see if I can find any other holes. I think that one is it. So I'm just gonna mark that spot. And then I'm gonna use a patch today, but another option you have is buying a new tube. The things you're gonna wanna look for on your bike include the size of the tube. So this one is a 20-inch wheel by 2 inches in width for the tire. If you type that into Amazon, you're gonna get a ton of options of people wanting to sell you a tube. Probably $6 or $7 for a new tube. They'll ship it straight to your door. We're gonna use a patch today to patch this little hole. And patch kits are also gonna be really cheap. If you look up, this is Park Tool Patch Kit, or if you look up just any patch kit for a bicycle tire on Amazon, once again, expect to spend $4 or $5 for a patch kit. You're gonna get a little piece of sandpaper in there, and you wanna scuff up around your hole. That's gonna help that patch stick. There's two kinds of patches you can get. Some of them you have to put like a glue on here. You let that glue dry, and then you stick the patch right on top of the hole. This one is just a sticker patch, so it's just got a little sticker. I'm gonna peel this guy off, and then I'm gonna make sure I cover that hole that I scuffed up around the edges. Just stick that right over the top, put it on there really good. I'd even flatten it out a little bit so you can really stick it on there. Now this is where things get a little bit technical, because we don't want to break this tube. We don't want to put a hole in this tube that we just spent time fixing. So I'm going to let all this air out so I can get it back inside the tube. There's a little button inside of this valve that I can press in, and that lets the air out. And once I got that turned down, I'm going to find the hole where the valve goes through, stick this in there, and get that valve right back through that hole. That's what we need to be able to do to pump it up once it's all set up. Okay. Got that back through. Now, this is critical. There's two things that cause a puncture in a tube. One of them is if we run over something sharp, a piece of glass, a nail, a tack, or a thorn, which unfortunately are really common on the streets in Denver. The other thing that can cause a flat in a tube is when the tube gets stuck between the tire and the rim. So if I put this tire back onto this rim, and there's a little bit of tube that gets stuck between I'm gonna make it big so it's really clear and obvious. That piece of tube gets stuck between the tire and the rim. When I inflate the tube, it's gonna cause a pinch right there, and this tube is gonna break. So you need to make sure that tube is all the way in there, set into the rim. And when I'm putting this the tire back onto the rim, that it's not pinching that tube anywhere.
Did you check the tire to make sure that the thorn was no longer in the tire?
That's a really great point. Thank you. So one really good thing to do is to feel around the inside of the tire Make sure there's no little bits of glass, make sure there's no thorns sticking through. Once again, I heard from the owner of this tire that he pulled the thorn out that caused this leak. So it didn't feel as important to check, but that's a really good point. You don't want to put your fresh tube in there and have it immediately go flat again. So we used this tool, this tire lever, to take the tire off of the wheel, but it's really important that you don't use the tire lever when you put it back on. The problem is, if I use this tire lever and put this back on, I have a chance that this tire lever is going to catch the edge of that tube on the inside and rip it, and we definitely don't want that to happen. So some tires fit a little bit snug. You kind of have to work it back and forth, but it should just pop back into place like that. Once we're there, you can use like an electric pump, like your parents probably have one in their car for in case they get a flat. I have this pump that I use for my bikes, but I'm gonna screw this one on. A lot of times they'll just have that lever you pull up to tighten it. And then we should be able to pump this back up. And just like that, we're holding air again. If you guys have any specific problems as you try and fix a tire, if you're trying to fix one and you can't quite get it, if you need links to good quality patches or tubes or anything like that, please email me. You guys know my email, it's daniel.schneider@scienceandtech.org. And yeah, I want to get you guys out riding, so hopefully if that's the only problem with your bike, this will help you out.